Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Benchwarmers Sports Podcast. I'm Raffi and as always, joined by Theodore. This is my favorite episode. I'm so excited. This is finally hockey season. I know it started a few days ago overseas in Czechia, not the Czech Republic anymore. You got to remember that. But we really start to get going tomorrow. We're recording Monday, and I can't wait. The Rangers, your New York Rangers, Theodore, start their season soon. And I know that you're definitely going to think very highly of them. Before we begin, before I ask you how you're doing, I need to take a quick second, unfortunately, because I love talking hockey. I just need to address something. Tom
Yes.
Brady, are you come on? Why do we have to keep letting him get whatever he wants? That was an egregious roughing the passer call. I'm not saying the Falcons would have won the game. They probably wouldn't have, but they had a chance. They would have had a chance, and they got robbed of that. I'm just not happy about that. Arthur Smith was absolutely hilarious, saying a few expletives towards the ref. It
I
was
love
really,
he really looks like a good coach.
he really has been, and I know a lot of people because everyone's like this nowadays. Where last year they were like, he's got to go, he's this, he's that, but like Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith walked into an absolute disaster. The Hurricane Ian, like went through Atlanta, like it was that bad, and now things are finally turning around. Well, Richie Grant's been playing well. I know a lot of people had him as a bust last year. I mean, he's a second round pick. Like, relax. And as a whole, I'm very happy with how the Falcons are right now. I wanted to touch on that real quick because first off, it just helps my victim complex of why I hate Tom Brady, and then also just because I'm very proud of my team, the Falcons, because I did think that they're going to be a bit better than a lot of people had them winning like 2, 3 games. So I'm happy about that.
Okay. Now that I'm gonna take the spotlight because I think we have some things that need to be addressed.
Are you going to do your Castellanos with a drive?
No, although it would be timely because Castellanos and his team really are a theme in this conversation. Look, I made some statements about a certain city sports teams that some people didn't love, and it got me thinking. Receiving getting bombarded by thousands of messages saying, you're an idiot. We hate you. Eagles are the best.
5-0.
5-0. Yeah, that one was very creative. Don't know where they got that from. Look, I don't want to be too harsh on Philly. Look, the Rocky movies are probably my favorite movies series out there. I love Meek Mill. He's got some great music. The Flyers have a great logo. I got this jersey. I'm wearing it just to show that I'm making an effort to pay my debts to the city of Philadelphia. Also, I don't want to be shot next time I travel there.
Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way because the way things are trending, I don't know if we got to a point where we're doing live shows. Philadelphia was not going to be the first stop. I can tell you that. But you know what? It's okay. Unfortunately, we're not going to be pumping the Flyers tires on this episode because the Flyers are uh, bad. But anyways,
His
let's
words,
hop.
not mine. I love you, Flyers. I love you, Philadelphia.
No, I'll back you guys up on the Eagles.
No,
You're
the Eagles suck.
a loss.
Eagles suck. They are going to fall off so hard. It is the worst 5-0 football team I have ever seen in my
The
life.
Pittsburgh Steelers from 2 years ago would like to have a word with you.
Yeah, they're going to follow this exact pattern. I don't think they're not winning a playoff game this year.
All right. Well, we'll see. I mean, I just gotta say before we move into the hockey talk, the NFC now, I genuinely do not know who is going to come out of the NFC because the Rams look bad, the Bucks
Rams are
look
atrocious.
bad, the Packers look bad. I know you loved hearing that. That's music to your ears. I don't say the Vikings. I genuinely do
Kirk
not know
Cousins
who's coming
is
out of the
oh,
NFC.
the NFC beast right now is going off the Giants, Eagles, and Cowboys. A combined 13-2. Then you got Washington at like 1-4. We don't talk about them.
The commies. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll save this conversation for next week and see and break down all of that. Let's hop in real. Sorry, I thought Davian was gonna hop in again. Sorry, he's not with us today, unfortunately. So he'll be with us next week. I thought he might make a random entrance to say the Rangers were winning the Stanley Cup this year. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It is fine. Obviously, education, exams first. But let's hop right into our NHL predictions. Starting off with the Atlantic, Boston Bruins. I'm going to be watching them because I mean the Blackhawks are going to. I don't drink, but if there was a year to start drinking as a sports fan, it would be this year as a Chicago Blackhawks fan. We have Tampa Bay Lightning, the three-time Eastern Conference champs, lost last year to the Colorado Avalanche. I have the so we're just going to go through the rankings, discuss a little bit about the teams. Currently in the Atlantic, I have Tampa, Florida, and the Leafs getting the top three in the division. I don't like saying the Leafs. They have very unshaky goaltending. Matt Murray was announced as starter for this Wednesday's match, which was, I guess, 3 days ago when you're watching this video. And I think it's shaky. I don't like their defense. Very dinged up already. And Jake Muzzin, who knows where he is. So I don't really like the Leafs, but they're with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, they're going to make the playoffs. And then my wild cards, I have the Senators and the Bruins. Bruins being the second one. Losing McAvoy, losing Marchand, losing those big guys for the first month or two of the season is going to really hurt them. But then again, you bring in David Krejci. You have a great defense and a great tandem in net with Swayman and Hallmark. So I think the Bruins are going to be fine. And then rounding out, I have the Sabres, the Red Wings, and then the Montreal Canadiens.
I think I liked where you're going with the Leafs hate. Obviously, we don't like Toronto here. I think we've discussed that a lot. I think I'm going to go even further than you did. I think the Boston Bruins are a better hockey team than the Leafs this year. David Pastrnak is incredible. I believe he is going into a contract year. We know what that leads to most times. He could pull an Aaron Judge, have an incredible season. I'm really high on Boston this season. I'm not a Boston sports guy or a Philadelphia sports guy, as we know. I just really think that Boston's built for success this season. Agree with what you said. Florida's obviously going to be good. And Tampa absolutely will. I think they'll be back, possibly in the Stanley Cup, definitely, winning a playoff series at the very least. Toronto, to me, is a low-end playoff team. I don't even know if they get in, if we're being real. I'm very interested to see how the season goes for them. They got the star power up front. I just don't know if they're deep enough.
Yep, I completely agree. I like their forward group, but the problem is they don't really have a lot of grit. They don't really have those good players in the bottom six. You see a team like the Avalanche, the Tampa Bay Lightning. You see these teams that have gone on Stanley Cup runs. Montreal Canadiens are a exception. I don't know. I don't know how in the world they made it to the Cup Finals 2 years ago. Don't ask me about that. But you see very deep forward groups and very deep teams as a whole go on these deep runs. And Toronto, as much as I like to dog on them, they're just not deep enough. We saw this last year. They got exposed by Tampa at the end. The Leafs just don't have that fight. You can't rely constantly on Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews doing stuff because if they don't show up to a game, you're kind of out of it already because
And
your
yeah,
goaltending. I don't have faith in their goaltending to steal a game from them in the playoffs.
mhm. And God forbid one of them goes down. There's just no hope for this team at all.
Especially with Matt Murray's past history the past 2 seasons, he's been really dinged up with injuries. So the Leafs, I have them in the playoffs. I have them losing in the first round because it's the Maple Leafs. Just like the Blue Jays a few nights ago, they're gonna blow it somehow. But anyways, yeah, the Bruins once again, new coach, David Krejci's back. I like what you said about Pastrnak. I think he's gonna be back in the top five for goal scorer this year. So we'll see what happens. But I do think that the Sabres and Red Wings are going to make some big steps going forward because very young teams, and I think that they're going to make some slow steps this year. I'm very excited to see what happens. Moving on to the Metro, Theodore's division, also David's
Yes.
well. I think that this is pretty wide open. I actually only have three teams in this division make the playoffs. I have the Rangers, Canes, and Penguins making the playoffs. You can't count out Sidney Crosby. I did that I think it was 3 years ago. I counted out Sidney Crosby. It did not end well for me. They wound up doing really well. Obviously, didn't go far in the playoffs, but I can't write off Sidney Crosby. I'm legally obligated to bet on him all the time. Then
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm actually flip-flop from where you were. I only had three teams from that Atlantic, Boston, Boston, Tampa Bay, and Florida making it there. I think five teams from this division get into the postseason. I just really think there's so much more talent here. Carolina, Sebastian Aho, great team. I love what they're doing. Obviously my Rangers, I think will be one of the best teams in the league. I'll talk about them more in depth later. I just don't know how you can count on Ovechkin to miss the playoffs. Look, he's getting older. He's still one of the best players in the NHL. He's not taking the step back that people are predicting. Him and Washington will be right in there, as will Sidney Crosby and company. And then you can't count against Johnny Gaudreau. I mean, they brought him in for a reason. They gave him that huge contract. There's enough talent on the team that they'll sneak into the playoffs, if you ask me.
I think that they're definitely a team to keep an eye on. Another team is the Islanders.
No,
Had a
no,
terrible they had a terrible start to last year because I think they spent the first like 15, 20 games on the road because their stadium hadn't been fully built yet. Which with COVID, it's an excuse. Obviously, you wouldn't that wouldn't happen in normal times, but it is what it is. And I think the Islanders are very boring. I don't like them at all because of how
yeah,
they played the Bruins the past few years. But I would not be shocked if the Islanders just missed the playoffs. I think they're going to be in it. Capitals, my main concern with the Washington Capitals, and the reason why I have them missing the playoffs this year, is because of the loss of Nicholas Backstrom. We don't know when he's coming back or if he's coming back, and that's a big concern for me because obviously Ovechkin, he's going to put the puck in the net regardless of who's playing with him. That's just what he does. He
mm,
lines up in his office. Theodore, I'm sure you've seen the highlights. Somehow on the power play, it does not matter. Teams will still leave Ovechkin wide open on the left dot to fire one timers home. I don't know how teams continue to forget this, but it just keeps happening. Ovechkin's going to do really well.
yeah.
But Backstrom, you need that support though throughout the rest of the lineup. And I think Backstrom, losing him is really going to hurt the team.
Agreed. It's Ovechkin, though. That's all I'm going to say. That he will find a way to will this team in the playoffs. That's what all the greats do. You see it with LeBron every year until this year. So actually, that was a horrible example. I don't know why I'd say that.
That was really
He'll get in though.
I think that the main thing that I'm looking forward to with East is by like November to early December last year, we kind of already knew who the top 8 teams were, and there was a huge gap just to start off. This year, with teams like the Devils making some moves, with the Blue
No,
Jackets making
get the
moves,
Devils out of here.
the Devils are still a young team, and with
I like
Alexander
Jack
Holtz,
Hughes. He's decent.
Alexander Holtz might have a breakout year this year as a rookie. I think he's going to be really good. You bring in Palat. Obviously, the goaltending's still a concern, but the Devils will be better. My point is, though, with the Sabres, the Senators, Detroit, with all these teams that were in the bottom making big strides this offseason, the gap's going to be much more narrow. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm really excited about with the Eastern Conference. It's not like early December you're going to know who the 8 teams are. At least personally, I don't think so.
Agreed. I think we'll have a race going down to the last minute. I think Toronto, at the very least, and I'm kind of on the low end on them. At the very least, they'll be fighting until the last day of the regular season. I'm having them falling short, but I think we'll have some great games as we come down the stretch in April.
100%. John Tavares needs to step up a little bit and put his captain pants on and play a bit better. Central Division now, moving over to the Western Conference, we have the home of your Chicago Blackhawks, my Chicago Blackhawks, 6-time Stanley Cup champion, dynasty of the early 2010s. And it was about time for them to finally tear it down. And unfortunately, it was 4 years too late, but it is what it is. Better now than later, I guess. And at least it's not with he who shall not be named Stan Bowman, as I name him. Blackhawks are going to be bad this year. I'm fully embracing the tank. I would say the slogan for Bedard to tank for Bedard, but yeah, there's some good tank for Bedard type slogans. Theodore, something I'm not sure if you've learned yet, but whenever there's a high end prospect, it's always you have to come up with a rhyme.
Yeah,
2012,
NBA
the
as
fail,
well.
the fail for nail. You need to come up with these. Lafreniere was a bit hard to come up with some fun
Yeah,
slogans
sure.
for, but every now and then you lose for Hughes. It's always great. So there's definitely some good ones for Bernard this year, and I hope my Chicago Blacks can get him. I haven't accepted yet that Patrick Kane is out the door. Don't tell me. He will be back. He's going to be a lifetime Blackhawk. I love this man.
Mm.
But moving on to the rest of the teams, I mean the Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup this past year. They finally got over the hump. Now paying Nathan McKinnon over $12.5 million, just over that, starting next year is really going to hurt them. I think with just their cap situation, you already see the effects with losing Kadri and Burakovsky. I still think the Avalanche are going to win the Central. I just think their team is too good. You have so much depth, and although you have Georgiev, who is a bit of a he's a guy who can start for you. Don't get me wrong, but I'd rather have Kemper than Georgiev
Yeah.
is what I'm trying to get at. But regardless, I have the Avs winning the Central, followed by the Wild, the Blues. I have the Predators as a wild card. I like what they did adding Ryan McDonough. You lost Connor Ingram to waivers today. I thought he could have been the backup goalie for you guys, but it is what it is. I like seeing you guys suffer. And then Dallas, Winnipeg, followed by Chicago and Arizona.
The Avs are obviously the best team here. Yes, goalkeeping isn't elite, but everything else is. So
I
they'll
mean, they showed this past season, although Georgiev is a downgrade from Kemper, they showed that they didn't need an elite goalie to go on this cup run.
I loved the way St. Louis closed out the season last year. It was right as I was getting into it too, so they kind of struck me. And they didn't make a huge splash, but they also didn't really lose anything. So I really think that they'll be back. They're a solid number 2 here. The Wild are, what more can you say about them? They're just an all-around good team. Obviously, we know who their star is. Kaprizov is absolutely incredible. Team from this division, and then fourth is where it gets interesting because I am really low on the Nashville Predators. They got Rangers legend Ryan McDonough. He just won a couple Stanley Cups. I really love him as a player, but at 33, I could see him start to fall off a little bit. So I actually think the Predators will be one of the bigger disappointments in the league this year. So with that being said, I'm going to slide the Winnipeg Jets in as
That's a
the
take.
fourth team in this division. First of all, Dallas Stars are mainly out just because the Rangers got their pick, and I don't want to pick them to make the playoffs. But the Jets, I've been watching some stuff about them. They got an elite goalie. I tried pronouncing his name before the
Connor
show.
Hellebuck.
Yeah, I cannot get that down, but he looks incredible from everything I've seen, and I could see them making some noise this year.
I'm on the opposite side with the I almost said the New York Jets. Jeez, hockey season starting, Rafi. Get into it. The Winnipeg Jets are kind of a mess right now with their coaching situation. Obviously, you shipped Blake Wheeler with the captaincy, so that's
Yes.
also a cause for concern. I think they're planning, they'd like to trade him. We'll see what happens. I think if you're the Jets, it's time to tear it down. Now, the one thing going for Winnipeg is the last team I said that they should tear it down was the Calgary Flames 2 years ago. And that's turned out really well with the Flames not tearing it down. So maybe that's a good thing for the Jets. But I'm just concerned about the new coach, Rick Bowness. He's from Dallas, or coached Dallas rather, from the Dallas Stars organization. He's kind of just good at being mediocre, honestly. Obviously, he went on that cup run in 2010, but I'm just the Jets. I just don't think are good. I don't like their defense. They're leaving You can't leave Connor Hellebuck out to dry. And as I said with the Predators, I mean UC Saros, absolute legend. We saw what happened when UC Saros was not playing for the Predators in the first round versus Colorado Avalanche, because that was just an absolute mess and a half. And yeah, yeah. Theodore, would you like to make fun of the Arizona Coyote Stadium before we go on to the Pacific?
Yes. I've been to that stadium. I went to Arizona State, to check it out. This was actually a while ago, but it was a great atmosphere. Watching a game there was absolutely incredible. But you're an NHL team. Come on. 5,000 seats is just absurd. I've been reading like semi-pro teams in Canada are seating more than that. Give me a break. Come on.
Yep. There was our normal Arizona small stadium joke. Unfortunately, the Florida Panthers have shown to me that they do have fans, and more than 10 in fact. So I will cool it on the Florida Panthers fan slander. We're already not on the Eagles fans' good side. I don't think I'm looking to get all 15 Panthers fans now on our bad side as well. Let's briefly go through the Pacific and then get through some of our player awards. Pacific, I have the Flames, Oilers, Kings, Vegas as the other wild card team along with the Preds, followed by Vancouver, just missing Anaheim, Seattle, San Jose. Anaheim, Seattle, San Jose, kind of still in the rebuild mode. Sharks, I think, are just going to absolutely fall off the map. Although Eric Carlson, I think he's going to have a big bounce back here. I'm not just saying that because he's on my fantasy team. Started off last season really good and unfortunately got injured really early and missed a lot of time. But once again, though, the Flames, I mean, you lose Matthew Tkachuk. You lose Johnny Gaudreau. Everything is just burnt. Quite literally, everything's burning. Not like the flames. There's flames everywhere. The team is burning to the ground. Official rebuild. It's over. And then Brad Tree Living Masterclass turns Kachuk So Uyghur and Huberto. Yes, you had to pay probably a little bit more to keep them in Calgary, but then again, I mean, their defense, along with like the Bruins, maybe the Blues as well, maybe the Predators, the Flames have arguably like one of the best, if not like at least a top five defensive core. And then with Jacob Markstrom as well in net, I really like the Flames.
Yes, I do as well. I just think with all the changes they made, it'll be a bit of a slow start. So I have them a little lower in this division. I think they're a playoff team for sure, and I think they're kind of going to be a team like St. Louis last year, that kind of hits their stride as they head into the playoffs. Maybe make some noise there. I think Edmonton wins this, and I think the Vegas Golden Knights return to being one of the better teams in the league. If there was a Most Improved Player award, there might be. Is there?
I don't believe so. No.
Jack Eichel would win it, though. I really think that he is going to take the step a lot of people were waiting for in Buffalo. And then LA also gets into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. My one concern with Vegas is you lose Robin Lehner, your starting goalie for the whole season. And I mean, if they were to have a guy like Marc-Andre Fleury and like they didn't give him away for free to one Chicago Blackhawks, then sorry, Mikael Hakkarainen, you are not nothing. You mean something to me, but you essentially outweighed right after the trade. So you essentially got traded for you were essentially nothing in that trade. But regardless, losing Robin Lehner for essentially the whole season, losing Laurent Brossoit, as I like to say, and that's how his name is pronounced, by the way, a little French right there. He's injured to start the season as well. Logan Thompson, he played really well down the stretch, arguably kept Vegas in the playoff race towards the end of the season, but he's still a young goalie. He's only 25. I have him on my fantasy team, so I hope he does well. But from a realistic standpoint, I think there's going to be some growing pains personally for him. But the Vegas defense is really good, though. So
yeah,
they should be able to support him.
Okay, now my question about this division. When are the Kraken going to be good? I want to get to see their logo more. It's so sick. I want to get to see him play. I want to get to see their absolutely incredible mascot make his NHL playoff debut.
I don't like the mascot. After doing some research, it's like there's a myth about like a troll, like a mythical story about a troll under a bridge, and that's where they came up with it. The fact that I had to research that though, it just shows
Yeah.
that
No, I
most
mean, how
NHL fans
the
don't care.
Kraken, the coolest logo, the coolest color scheme,
Oh yeah,
and that's your mascot. Come on.
yeah, I do agree. But then again, I mean, to answer your question, I'd have Seattle. I think their timeline is 3 years, 2 years. I think that they're getting close. Obviously, you have Matty Beniers, who is really good, and I think he's gonna have a really good year this year. We'll see when we get the player awards what I think about Matty Beniers. Not to hint at anything, but I think they're a very strong team. They have good forward core. They have a good D core. Hopefully, Philip Grubauer can bounce back in net. But I think they're probably a year or two away. I think they'll be good this year. They'll take some steps. Still miss the playoffs, but I mean, you add potentially a Connor Bedard. This draft is going to be stacked. So any player that you add, if you have a top 10 pick, that's arguably a top 5 pick, top 3 pick in most years in the past. So Seattle not going to have a good year this year, probably. Perfectly fine. Just got to stay competitive, and in like 1-2 years when they build up that decor with young guys, when Shane Wright's ready to go, I think Seattle is going to be really, really good. So I think they're doing well in the rebuild, which I was very critical with when they first did their expansion draft. Now, let's get into some picks. Obviously, we're not going to go through our playoff bracket because it's just so much can change. So there's no point. But I do want to just, both of us, we can just give our Stanley Cup final and our champion. After losing a $20 bet 5 years ago, 6 years ago, no, 5 years ago, the Carolina Hurricanes, I lost $20. This was the first time in I think like 10 years they made the playoffs, and I of course bet on them missing the playoffs that year, the one year they make it, but that's besides the point. I finally have come around. I have the Carolina Hurricanes going to Stanley Cup final, and here I have them playing the Calgary Flames. I love what they did this offseason. I like their coach. They're keeping Daryl Sutter around. I think the Flames are going to have a good bounce back year, and I think it's just going to be really good. I did originally have the Penguins versus the Avalanche, but EA Sports predicted that, and I'm not getting. There's no chance. The EA curse is real. Is real. We all know I believe in curses wholeheartedly. I'm not going there, so I'm going Canes Flames. I have the Flames winning the Stanley Cup.
Okay, so do I need to even back up my Eastern Conference pick? It's the Rangers. It is just such a great team. I mean, I just look at the group of guys here, and yes, obviously I'm biased being a New Yorker and them being the only hockey team whose games I regularly watch. But like, I just love the group of guys we have here. Like, you got the kid lineup, which actually might be changed around this year.
Lafreniere should be in the top six, but yeah.
Yeah, he should. You know, Fox is one of the best defensemen in the league. Kreider's gonna hopefully score 50 goals again. He might fall off a tiny bit just because other guys step up. And then we got the best goalie in the NHL. Like, come on, it's absolutely absurd what's going for this team right now. I can name guys all day and just talk about how good they could be.
100%. I think the Rangers are definitely. If the Hurricanes don't go to the Stanley Cup final, I would not be shocked if the Rangers. I'm very high on the Metro this year. I think either the Canes, Penguins, or Rangers will go to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah,
And I really like the Flames this year. Although I wouldn't be shocked if the Avalanche go all the way. Real quick, worst team in the NHL. I got the Arizona Coyotes. Clear that out of the way. But I do have the draft lottery winners being the Chicago Blackhawks. I'm a delusional Blackhawks fan. We're getting Connor Bedard this year. What
man's
could you expect?
predicting ping pong.
What else could you expect? Although I'm with the Falcons, I thought they were going to get the first overall pick, and they've done really well. The Blackhawks do not be good this year. We need Connor Bedard, please. Anyways, moving on to the player awards after that quick tangent. Let's start off with the Norris, the best defenseman in the NHL. I think that this is pretty easy. Hopefully, Cale Makar has a full, healthy season because you can make the argument the last 2 years that if he just stayed healthy for the full season, he would win it. So I think Cale Makar is winning the Norris this year.
Yes, Kale McCarr is an excellent player. He is great at everything he does. Adam Fox is going to win the award for the New York Rangers. Yes, am I biased? Yeah, I am. But is he one of the best defensemen in the NHL? Yes, he is. Look, this is year. I think we'll see a lot of Rangers taking home awards this year, and he'll be one of them.
Good pick. I like that pick. Not a terrible pick. Obviously, Roman Yossi's another good pick. Victor
Yeah,
Hedman.
he was the. I don't know. For some reason, I got feeling that McCarr will not be the one winning it. If I had to pick a runner-up, I think it would be Roman Yossi, though. Even though Nashville is a
He's
team,
so good at hockey. Art Ross, I don't think that this should be too hard. Connor McDavid.
I can't argue with that one.
Yeah, he's so good at hockey. Moving on to the Vesna, I have a feeling that I know who Theodore is going to take. I was thinking Marcham, but I just think last year there was all this Shesterkin's past Vasilevsky. Shesterkin's better than Vasilevsky, but you know what? It's Andre Vasilevsky. He's the big cat. I think that he's going to win the Vesna this year and just prove to everyone, say, hey, this Igor guy's pretty good, but I'm better. So I have Vasilevsky winning the Vesna this year. But watch out for Markstrom. Very high in the Flames this year. Jacob Markstrom, watch out.
Yeah, so I think you guys can figure out who I'm picking, so I'm not even going to say it. Shesty is going to have another great season. People are saying, "Oh, can he do it again? Is he that good?" He is that good, and you'll soon see.
Yep. Also, another good pick. Jake Ottinger, a lot of people are liking for the Dallas Stars. He had one good playoff appearance, playoff series. Let's cool it a little bit. He's going to be a good goalie, but cool it a little bit on Jake Ottinger for Vesna. Moving on, the Rocket Richard. This looks a bit bad now that I kind of dug into him a little bit earlier today, but I do have Alex Ovechkin winning the Richard.
Ooh.
I think he's got one more in him. Austin Matthews is always the safe bet, but I wanted to add a little bit of spice to my award predictions, so I'm gonna go Ovechkin. I think he's got one more in him.
Well, thanks for that, Ralph, because that was going to be my big moment where I got to talk about Ovechkin at my pick. I thought, there's no way he's not going with Austin Matthews. I really think that Ovechkin goes off. I know people are starting to look like, oh wait, can he pass Gretzky for the all-time goals record? I think this year will be a huge step in doing it. He goes absolutely berserk.
He's getting closer and closer, and it's just every time. It's not a matter of can he do it. It's going to be when will he do it, because he's just been amazing, and he hasn't taken that step down yet, and I don't imagine him doing that at least for another couple of years.
Yeah.
Finally, to cap off the player awards, obviously there's Coach of the Year, GM of the Year, but that's to be determined throughout the season, so we're not going to get into that. The Calendar, I got Matty Beniers, as I alluded to earlier. I think that with the ice time that Seattle is going to be giving him, and just with how he's played this preseason, he's played really well. played really good when he got his games in last year. I think Beniers is one of the favorites, but I just think watching him play, he's gonna bring a lot of life to a Seattle team that once again very solid team, but now you add a little bit more spice with Beniers, and I think that's gonna get more fans in the stadium and it's gonna make more people in the United States and even Canada as well tune into the Seattle Kraken. So Matty Beniers for the Calgary.
I'm gonna go with Owen Power. I read up on him a little. Buffalo's not a good team as we've established. So again, he'll get a lot of reps in, and I just think he's got a lot of potential that he could start to tap into this year. And especially if Buffalo is somewhat competitive down the stretch, like if they enter, maybe February in playoff contention, I think he'll start to get some attention from NHL fans.
Absolutely. I think that's also a good pick. He also played really well down the stretch when he got his, I think it was his like 9 games or 7 to 9 games and at the end of last season. And obviously, you look at the defense, you got Darlene, you have Owen Power. So you got a really good generational level top pair for years and years. And let's not forget about Ilya Lybushkin, who is just an elite defender. But that's going to be it for this episode of the Benchwarmers Sports Podcast. I'm Raffi. We hope you enjoyed. Man, I'm so happy we did a hockey talk. I've been
I
waiting
am
so.
too, Rafi. One final thing for the show. As promised, apple cider donut on the podcast.
Oh, come on. Oh boy. I'm getting
Right
apple cider
there
donuts tomorrow, so I'm very
is
excited about
incredible.
this. We'll probably have to do an apple cider donut podcast at some point, but I'm all for it. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if you like this video. I also have posted
Going
some
off.
hockey stuff, some of the YouTube shorts. We're going to get more of those as we go along. Follow us on TikTok, benchwarmers_sports. Things are blowing up. You don't want to miss it. You want to be one of the OGs and say that you were a follower when we were under 200 followers. So be sure to hit that follow button. Benchwarmer_sports. We have some great stuff. We can make fun of the Eagles all together. So definitely do that. And once again, for Theodore, I'm Raffi, and we hope you enjoyed and have a great rest of your day.